H is for hook, a fishing alphabet, written by Judy Young and illustrated by Gary Palmer. A is for angler, whose day is ideal when he catches a fish with a rod and a reel. Have you ever gone fishing? Then you are an angler. An angler is a person who fishes with a hook and a line. It comes from the Old English word angle, that means hook. Anglers come in all ages and can be male or female and can live anywhere. Some anglers have lots of equipment. Others have only the basic necessities: a rod, reel, and hook. People have been angling for thousands of years. During the Stone Age, lines were made of sinew or plant fibers, were tied to sticks. A sharp stone wrapped with the bait was tied to the line. When a fish swallowed the bait, the stone caught in its throat, and the fish was pulled to shore. Later, hooks were carved from bones and then made from metal. Ancient Egyptians showed people fishing with rods, and 12th century paintings from China rods shows rods with reels. Fishing for facts. Today, fishing is the #1 outdoor sports, with over 34 million licensed anglers in the United States and almost 4 million in Canada. B is for bird's nest. Don't cry and don't pout. Just patiently work till the tangles are out. Oh no, a bird's nest. What a mess. Don't worry, every angler gets the line tangled up sometime. Try to gently untangle the line, but don't pull on it. That will only make it worse. If you can't get it straightened out, just cut off the tangle and tie the hook on again. To tie on a hook, use a clinch knot. Practice tying knots at home so you'll know how when you go fishing. Here's how. Thread about 6 inches of line through the hook's eye. Wrap this tag end around the main line 5 times. Look, there's a space between the hook and the wrapped line. Thread the end through it. Now, let's make another loop under the wrapped line. Put the end through it too. Hold the hook and the wrapped line between your thumb and finger. Steadily pull the main line with your other hand to tighten the knot. Trim off the end. Fishing line is hazardous to animals. Throw your bird's nest in the trash. C. Catch a fish and let it go. It helps its population increase. Fish will be there another day. When C is for catch and release. Many anglers choose to catch and release fish. In some places, laws require fish to be returned to the water. Released fish can be caught again, plus they can grow and produce more fish, assuring healthy fish populations. To help fish survive being caught, use barbless hooks. They don't have the sharp points sticking out in the opposite direction from the main point, so they're easy to remove without harming the fish. If you can't get the hook out, either cut the hook where it bends or cut the line. The hook will rust away. It's best to release the fish without taking it from the water, but if you take it out, wet your hands before handling it so you won't damage its scales. Also, limit the time it's out of water. Finally, when releasing the fish, don't drop or throw it in. Glide it gently back into the water. To help fish populations, the United States has 69 national fish hatcheries that raise over 100 species of fish. D. Minnows, mayflies, beetles, and bugs. A great big mullet, a sandfine flea. Larval leeches, nightcrawler, nymphs. Dinner is for the letter D. Some fish eat just about anything. Others are very picky. In order to catch specific kinds of fish, you need to know what they like for dinner. Some fish will eat things you eat, such as bread, cheese, hot dogs, corn, and even marshmallows. Many fish prefer worms or insects, such as grasshoppers and crickets. Frogs, crawdads, salamanders make a delicious dinner for some freshwater species, and saltwater fish love shrimp, squid, and crabs. In fresh and saltwater, however, many fish eat other fish. Anglers may choose to fish with live bait, a fish's most natural diet. Sometimes anglers use natural bait that's been frozen. Natural bait cut into bite-sized chunks is called cut bait. You can dig worms, catch grasshoppers, or see minnows for yourself, or you can buy live or frozen bait at a taco shop or a marina. Game fish are species anglers try to catch. Bait fishes are species fishermen use as bait, but do not try to catch with a rod and reel. E. Fish fries, fritters, casseroles. Fish with sauces, sour and sweet. Gumbos, chowders, fish kebabs. Letter E means fish to eat. Fish are delicious to eat. They can be cooked in many ways. But before cooking a fish, it must be cleaned. You don't clean a fish with soap and water. Cleaning a fish means getting it ready to cook. To clean a fish, the belly is cut open and the internal organs removed. With some fish, such as trout, this is all you need to do before cooking. With most fish, however, you have to remove the head, tail, and dorsal fin, and scrape the scales off before cooking. Be careful when eating, there may be small bones. Another way to prepare a fish for cooking is to fillet. When filleted, the meat is cut away from the back and the rib bones, and the skin is removed, leaving a nice piece of boneless meat, ready for your favorite recipe. When cleaning fish becomes a forensic scientist, look in the fish's stomach to see what's been eating. Keep in mind this next time you select bait or lures. When F is for fly fishing, the line loops and rolls to deliver a fly to the fish in the holes. William Shakespeare wrote, "A trout must be caught with tickling." This is what fly fishermen try to do, to tickle the fish's attention through the presentation of a fly. With fly fish fishing, lures called flies are made from tying feathers, fur, tinsel, wool, and other materials onto hooks. Many flies imitate insects, and the angler tries to match what is hatching at the moment. Other flies look like insect larvae, minnow, crabs, or worms. Often anglers enjoy tying their own flies. Dry flies are tied so they float on the surface, and wet flies sink. Special rods and reels, as well as special tapered line, are used for fly fishing. It takes a lot of practice to learn to cast with a fly rod. By moving the rod back and forth, the line loops and rolls through the air until it lengthens out to land the fly on the water. The movement and weight of the line carries the fly to the perfect spot. Some flies are smaller than 1/16 of an inch. G. All fish have to breathe, just like you and me. But how does a fish accomplish this? With gills, therefore letter G. All fish have gills. To breathe, a fish takes water into its mouth and pushes through its gills. There, oxygen is removed from the water and enters the fish's bloodstream. Then the water is pushed out through the gill slits between the fish's eyes. Fish have fins, which help them move. A fish swims by twisting its body from side to side, like the letter S, pushing the water from its tail to give it power. Top and bottom fins give the fish balance, and side fins help it start, stop, and turn. An air-filled swim bladder under a fish's backbone keeps the fish from sinking to the bottom. Most fish have scales that protect the skin. Slime coats the scales, helping the fish swim faster and protecting it from disease. A sense organ called a lateral line, which runs the gills from the base of the tail, lets the fish feel vibrations. Nearly all fish are cold-blooded. Their body temperature is determined by the water temperature. H is for hiding, because that's what fish do, under logs and stone ledges, and in grasses too. To find where fish hide, think like a fish. Fish like to eat, but they are lazy. Fish are afraid of predators, and they don't like the sun. So you'll find fish in the right places where the current carries dinner right to them, such as near eddies on the outside edges of river bends, in pools below waterfalls, and where waters from two streams merge. Fish rest in the calmer pockets that form downstream behind boulders, so they don't have to fight rushing water. They hide under ledges and rocks, around sunken trees, or in vegetation, where they feel safer from bigger fish, birds, and mammals. Fish hang out in the shady spots under overhanging trees, bushes, and docks. They go deeper as the day heats up, linking the colder water in deep holes against the steep banks or near springs. Fish often eat in the morning or evening when it's cooler. If you catch a fish from a good spot, another will take its place, so find that spot again next time. I. Button your coat, put on your mittens. I is for ice fishing on a cold frozen pond. Do you live where it gets cold in the winter? You could go ice fishing. When ice on a lake is about 5 inches thick, ice fishermen bundle up in their warmest clothes, walk out onto a frozen lake, and drill holes in the ice with an auger. Using 2 short rods, they drop weighted lines into the holes, jigging either live bait or artificial lures close to the bottom until a fish bites. Some ice fishermen don't use a rod. Their lines are hooked up to special contraptions called tip-ups. When a fish bites, a flag tips up to let them know to pull on the line. Many ice fishermen sit in special tents they put around their fishing holes. Some drive vehicles across the frozen lake, putting small shacks over their fishing holes. These shacks are often heated with wood or gas stoves, and may even have electricity. Walking on frozen lakes, ponds, and rivers is dangerous. Never go on the ice without an adult's permission. Exactly when, what, where, and how I caught a bunch of fish today is what I'll write when the day is done. My journal is for letter J. Did you have a fantastic day of fishing? Write about it in a journal. Many anglers record what has been successful to help improve chances of having another good catch. Start your journal entry with a date and a specific location, such as James River near McGraw's Ford. Include conditions, such as time, temperature, weather, and water level. Now for the fish. Record not only what kind and size of fish you caught, but where and how you caught them. Did you catch your big bass near a bank or beside a sunken tree? What color and kind of lure? Did you fish below the surface? Did you reel in quickly or slow or jig the line? Be observant. The more aware you are about when, where, and what the fish are biting, the better angler you'll be. You've measured each fish on your stringer today. Caught your limit of keepers. Wow, that's letter K. You've hauled in your fish, but what is a keeper? There are laws about which fish can be kept. Size regulations say fish must be at least or no longer than a certain length. Catch limits tell how many fish of a certain species can be kept. Some species cannot be kept at all and must be released. Some fishing locations may have specific regulations, such as fly fishing only. Fishing seasons prohibit fishing certain times of the year. This protects fish during spawning when they lay eggs. Laws differ from place to place and species to species. In most states and provinces, children under 16 do not need a fishing license, but it's up to the age angler to know and follow the rules and regulations. Anglers can get a rule book wherever fishing licenses are sold. Fish identification books help anglers learn what kind of fish they catch. Keep keepers cold, either in water or using a stringer or wire in a fish basket or in a cooler on ice. L is for lure, a jig, spoon, and spinner that tricks a fish into thinking it's dinner. Lures are artificial bait designed to imitate the way a fish's natural lure's food looks, moves, sounds, and even smells. Thousands of different lures are made from variations of 5 basic types: plugs, spoons, spinners, jigs, and plastic worms. Plugs look like fish. Surface plugs swim across the top of the water. Floating diving plugs do just that, float, and then dive when you reel. Deep plugs have long bills. The longer the bill, the deeper they go when reeled. Spoons are curved pieces of metal that flash, resembling shiny baitfish. Spinners have metallic discs that rotate rapidly, fluttering and sparkling like baitfish. Jigs are hooks with weights that look like heads. Colored feathers or shimmering tinsel attached to the jig will attract a fish. When reeling in a jig, jerk the line slightly so it dances and darts through the water in spurts. Plastic worms squiggle and squirm, looking like a live worm when reeled. Bigger isn't always better. You can catch a big fish with a tiny lure. M is for memories we love to share with friends, and when we tell our fishing tales, the laughter never ends. Not only is it fun to fish, but memories of fishing are also fun. Nothing is better than sitting around with fellow anglers and swapping fish stories. Every angler loves to talk about the big one that got away, as well as the one that landed, how it fought, and how it was outsmarted. Many fish stories stretch the imagination with humorous exaggeration, and everyone who has ever been wet a line has a story to contribute. Look at the photographs from fishing trips and bring up memories of good times and good people. Do you have a picture from the first fish you caught? Hey, is that your lucky hat in the picture? Or did that hat floated away when you leaned over to net your big keeper? Look, there's Uncle Bob kissing his fish. Remember that? It was a fun day. Lord, give me grace to catch a big fish that even I, when talking about it afterwards, shall have no cause to lie. Anonymous. You had a straight, your hook was set, you brought him in, now N is for net. Your fish is tired out and you've pulled him up close. He's a big one. How are you going to land him? Grab the net. If you have a big fish or you're in a boat, you may want to net your fish. Wait until the fish has stopped fighting aggressively. Don't swipe at the fish with the net, but completely submerge the net in the water. Gently pull the fish towards the net, bringing the net underneath the fish. Scoop it up head first. It sounds simple, but if you don't keep your rod tip up, your line may lose tension and the fish may spit the hook. Or you may knock the fish with the net's rim and the fish will escape. If the fish sees the net, he'll take another run. So don't set your rod down before he's landed. Fish can also be landed by grabbing the lower lip with your finger and thumb. Beware, some fish have teeth. Ouch. I've got a marlin on my line, 1,000 pounds of fish or more, when I hooked him in the ocean deep, where O is for fishing way offshore. If you go offshore Where land is far from sight, you may catch a wahoo, a tuna, or maybe even a shark. Offshore anglers dream of fighting giant billfish like marlin and sailfish. How can you find fish in the great big ocean? Maps and special equipment point out rocks, ledges, and wrecks where fish hang out deep underwater. Fish also like to hide under free-floating objects, weed lines, and near oil rigs where there's shade. Anglers chum the water, tossing a chopped-up baitfish stew overboard. Fish are attracted to the smell. Once a large fish bites, it may take hours to pull it in. Anglers may have to be strapped into the chairs bolted into the boat where they fight their huge fish. A big hook is attached to the pole, called a gaff. It is used to haul in the fish into the boat, but some anglers photograph and release their catch. Watch for the birds. Gulls and terns often tell saltwater anglers where bait fishes are, and bigger fish may be nearby. Patient, persistent, and polite starts with P. You'll have a great day if you are all three. When you go fishing, you must be patient and persistent. Every angler knows you won't get a bite with every cast, and some days you're not going to catch any fish at all. However, you won't catch a fish with your line out of water, so keep trying. Fishing isn't only about catching fish. Fishing can be relaxing, quiet time, or think of an opportunity to enjoy a buddy's company. It's also a chance to enjoy being outdoors. You might see a duck flying overhead, a turtle sunning himself, or an iridescent dragonfly hovering over the water. Maybe a deer or fox will come for a drink. Fishing can be pleasant for everyone if you are polite. If someone's already fishing in a certain spot, don't crowd him. Move to another place. And don't cast over someone else's line. And if someone near you hooks a fish, reels it in, so his fish won't get tagged up in your line. Be polite to the environment, too. Don't litter. Q is for quiet, which is what you need to be, so sneak up to your fishing pole, because fish can hear and fish can see. Shh! If you want to catch fish, you must be quiet. Sound travels easily through water, and fish have excellent hearing. Noises made by stomping loudly on a shore or dropping items on the floor of a boat may scare fish away. Fish have good vision, too. If you can see a fish, it can see you. Movement may spook a fish, so sneak up on a fishing hole and don't wear bright colors. Fish can also sense vibrations, and may be frightened if you splash or throw things in the water. However, if a fish's ability to detect vibrations can help you catch it. Some vibrations drive a fish crazy, thinking dinner is swimming nearby. Moving your lure through the water to make similar vibrations can entice a fish to strike. Be patient. It takes practice to learn how to move different lures to trick a fish. Sound travels through water at 3,000 miles per hour. That's about 4 times faster than through the air. R is for rod and reel, so you can cast for fish, and maybe in that big long box, you'll find your birthday wish. A fishing pole is called a rod. Rods come in many lengths and weights depending on what kind of fish you are after and the type of reel you had. They are also usually made from fiberglass or graphite and have a hand grip, a reel seat to hold the reel, and round guides through which the line is threaded. Reels hold, release, and retrieve the line. Close-face spin casting reels are good for beginners. They rarely tangle and are easily operated by pushing a button. A spinning reel casts farther, but remembering to flip the bail and hold the line with a finger makes it trickier to use. A bait casting reel holds heavier line for bigger fish. Difficult to cast, it will backlash into a big tangle if you don't remember to thumb the spool. The reel's drag controls how easily a fish can take out the line. With too little drag, there's not enough pressure and the fish may spit the hook. Too much drag and the fish may break the line. S is for safety. That's rule number 1. Those who fish safely are those who have fun. It's fun to fish, but it's important to be safe. Learn how to swim and always wear a life jacket. Fish with a buddy and tell someone where you are going and when you'll be back. Be careful. Rocks, logs, banks, docks may be slippery. Don't wade unless you are with an adult. When wading, feel the bottom with your feet for drop-offs before stepping. Don't wade in too fast or deep water. Make sure nobody's behind you before casting. Be careful handling fish. Some bite and have poisonous barbs. Don't go barefoot. You may step on a hook or sharp rock. Watch the weather. If you hear thunder, stop fishing and seek shelter. Remember, all the fun of fishing disappears if someone gets hurt. Leaders, sinkers, bobbers, hooks, a spool, line, a tiny weight. When tackles for letter T, you make a rig to hold your bait. When you open a tackle box, you may recognize hooks, but what's all the other stuff? Tackle is the fishing equipment. Bobbers are floats. They hold the bait at the depth you want. When a fish nibbles at the bait, the bobber wiggles. When the fish strikes, the bobber goes completely under. Sinkers are weights. A common type, a split-shot sinker, is pinched around the line. Use just enough weight to pull the bobber hook without pulling the bobber under. With bobbers, sinkers pull the bait down to the deep bottom for fish. Swivels keep your line from twisting. Some snap open so you can quickly change lures without having to tie a knot. Leaders are short pieces of line tied to other pieces of tackle. By combining bobbers, sinkers, and swivels, leaders, and hooks, you make a rig. Be creative and see what works. A well-stocked tackle box may include lures, line, pliers, knives, and hook removers. Hook size numbers seam backward. The smaller the hook, the bigger the number. U is for urban fishing. In your town or in a mine, with buildings in the background, let's wet a line. You don't have to take a trip to the country to go fishing. Many urban areas have wonderful places to cast a line. Steelheads can be caught in the Grand River where it runs through Grand Rapids, Michigan. Do you have a river or creek running through your city or town? Hundreds of lakes dot Minneapolis, Minnesota. Maybe there's a lake in your cityscape. Does your neighborhood park have a fishing pond stocked full of fish? One in Rolla, Missouri does. If you live near saltwater, like those in Camp Ellis, Maine, Port Mansfield, Texas, or Vancouver, British Columbia, there may be jetties or piers where fishing is allowed. Scout your favorite urban fishing hole. Many states and provinces have urban fishing programs. Towns and cities often have fishing clubs, classes, competitions, and festivals as well. Some are just for kids. The first full week of June is National Fishing Week in the United States and in Canada. It's the first week of July. Fee. A bluegill, bass, and catfish too, strung on a stringer, 1, 2, 3. So many fish that I catch. V is the letter varieties for V. There are over 80 varieties of freshwater fish in North America that anglers love to land. Largemouth and smallmouth bass are predators that eat almost anything. When they strike hard. Largemouth bass tend to go after fast-moving lures. Smallmouth bass chase slower lures that twitch and pause. Bluegills, pumpkin seed, sunfish, rock bass, crappie, and perch are often referred to panfish because they're the right size for a frying pan. Panfish will strike at just about any small bait or lure. Although easy to catch, they put up a strong fight for their small size. Catfish and walleye are bottom feeders, so fish deep. Muskies and pike fiercely attack shiny, noisy surface bait. Rainbow, steelheads, cutthroat, and brook trout and brown trout are some of the most prized catches. These are fast fish and are picky eaters, but love small insects and are fun to catch fly fishing. Reeling in a lake trout or salmon is also an angler's dream. There are over 25,000 species of fish in the world. Some fish like it cold, others like it hotter, but fish will always be around when W is for water. Everyone knows fish live in water, but good anglers know just what kind of water. Some fish live in freshwater creeks, rivers, ponds, or lakes, others in salty oceans. If you want to catch trout, you must fish in places with very cold water, like spring-fed rivers or mountain lakes. Bass, however, like warmer waters. Walleye and catfish hang out in deep water. Pike can be found in shallower waters. Anglers also fish from many places. Some cast from a riverbank or on the shoreline of a pond or lake. Others relax on a dock with their hook, line, and sinker dropped over the side. Many anglers wade fish swallow waters of streams out the ocean. Surf casting into the waves is fun. Boats allow anglers to go where the fish are. The boat may be anchored, or you might drift fish, floating with the current. Pulling a line slowly through the water with a motorboat is called trolling. Wherever you fish, follow safety rules and get permission to go on private property. The letter X marks the spot in the middle of your backyard. If you practice it at home, casting won't be very hard. To get your lure to the fish, you must learn how to cast accurately. You don't have to practice in water, though. Try lawn casting. Set up a target in your yard or park. A towel or piece of cardboard will work. Tie a practice lure with no hooks onto your line. Now stand 5 giant steps from your target. Imagine a clock with the middle and 12 o'clock above your head. Holding the button on your reel with your thumb, keeping your elbow bent and near your side, bring your hand up until the head of the tip goes to about 10 o'clock. Smoothly flick your rod forward, stepping when the tip reaches 2 o'clock. As you move your rod forward, let your thumb off the button. Your line will fly in the direction your rod tip is pointing. If you hit the target, Y is for yelling. Yippee and yahoo! When you catch a big fish, that's what you do. Catching a fish of any size is exciting and calls for a yippee and yahoo! Yet every angler dreams of catching the big one. The size of the big one depends on the species. A 2-pound sunfish is close to the record, but is tiny compared to a 1,805-pound blue marlin. Where you catch a fish also makes a difference in determining if it's a lunker. A 1-pound brook trout would be an amazing catch from a shallow mountain stream, but from a much larger river in Ontario, the world record brookie was 14 pounds and 8 ounces. Fish in the southern waters also tends to be bigger than the same species in northern waters. A largemouth bass caught in Ontario in 1976 weighed in at 10 pounds 4 ounces, making it a Canadian record. But a 22-pound 4-ounce largemouth caught in Georgia in 1932 is the U.S. record. Check your state's or province record catches, often listed in regulation, handbooks, or websites. Z is for big long Zing. To anglers, this is the sound so divine when the reel starts to sing with a great big fish on the line. You open your tackle box and choose your favorite lure. Looking across the water, you eye for the perfect spot. In a fluid motion, you set your lure sailing. Plop, a perfect cast. You reel in your line, not too quickly, not too slowly, then cast it out again. Patiently, you reel in and cast out over and over. You notice a bird on long stilted legs. He's fishing too. Suddenly, there's a tug on your line. You've got a bite. You snap your rod back, setting the hook. Zing, the sound every angler loves to hear. The fish pulling on the line. Thump, thump, thump. Your heart beats with excitement. The fish slows down, and you start to reel, smooth and steady. Wait, don't force him. Zing, he's taking another run. Here we go again. What a fight. The fish finally tires out, and you proudly pull him from the water. Snap. Your buddy's camera catches you and your fish. Grab your rod. The fish are waiting. The end.